Good afternoon, New Orleans, and wherever you're watching, welcome to Bayou Bets, brought to you by Caesars Sportsbook. Zach Ewing alongside Jim Derry, literally alongside Jim Derry for once. Also virtually alongside Rod Walker and our producer Devin Jackson for just a fantastic super edition of Bayou Bets. Outside of football season, it might be the best show we ever do. National championship is tonight in New Orleans. Devin and Rod are already at the Superdome. Jim and I are just up Poydras at Harrah's Casino here in front of the Caesars Sportsbook. The national championship starts in about 4 hours. We've also got the Masters coming this week. We're going to talk to Scott Rabalais about that. Scott Rabalais will talk to you about the Masters in October, so you know he's excited to do it in April, 3 days before they start. Before we get started with a bunch of national championship talk, Kansas, North Carolina, the Masters, all of that, we've got a special offer for you from Caesars Sportsbook. Your first bet insured up to $1,100. So you can bet on tonight's game. You can bet on the Masters. If it doesn't work out, you basically get a second chance at it all the way up to $1,100. Go to NOLA.com/Caesars for that, or use promo code NOLA, CZR. So encourage you to do that. Sign up. That's for first-time users only. So if you haven't done it already, make sure you do. Other than that, guys, Kansas, North Carolina, fellas, how are we feeling? What are we thinking?
Thinking that my future. Sorry, Rod. I was thinking that my future bet exploded the other night. So I have my hedge on UNC. I don't think I'm going to win. We'll get to that in a minute, but I hope I do. Rod?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I don't know if I'm the person to ask for that. I had Villanova and Duke in the finals, and neither one of those teams are here tonight. So I may not be the best person to ask, but I am picking Kansas tonight.
We like you. We brought you back anyway. Devin, what are you thinking?
I don't know. After what happened over the weekend with Duke and North Carolina, I'm kind of leaning North Carolina. I just feel like they're the hottest team right now in college basketball. They're playing with a lot of confidence, and I'm just having a hard time betting against them. I figured they would I figured they would cover the spread against Duke, and they did that. They won outright, and now, I mean, they're basically playing with house money. They weren't expected to be here, and now they're not even favored in the national championship. So I think they're the most dangerous team on the court tonight, and I'm leaning North Carolina tonight.
Yeah, the more I think about this, guys, I liked Kansas initially too, and I bet them at the beginning of the weekend to win it. And even in the newspaper this morning, I picked Kansas to win. The more I think about it, it kind of feels like one of those games where everybody's picking Kansas. And that's usually not a great spot to be in as a gambler if you're on the spot that everybody else is too. And North Carolina, I mean, listen, yeah, they're an 8 seed. Yeah, they underachieved this year. But, I mean, they're really no less talented than Kansas. They've both got a bunch of 4 and 5 stars on the roster. I don't know that 4 points might be a little too much here.
You know what I find interesting, Zach, is if you look at this line, they don't want you to bet on Kansas. The line went down from 4.5 to 4, yet the money line is going up. So maybe they expect a close game. I don't know, but they do not want people to bet on Kansas. And so that if the line tells me anything, Vegas thinks Kansas is going to win. Maybe not necessarily in a convincing victory, maybe not by the spread, but I certainly think this is going from 190 to 200 to 210. It also could have where the money's been followed, but I just looking at this matchup, you talk about they're not that much. North Carolina's not. Here's the problem, and we kind of talked about this. I said if Kansas beat Villanova, I really like Kansas in the national championship game. The same still goes, even though they're not playing Duke, they're playing North Carolina. North Carolina put all their eggs in the basket of beating their rivals, all their focus the entire week, all their preparation was beating Coach K, knocking Coach K out, and getting to the championship game, and then we'll worry what happens then. Kansas was playing like they're on a mission. Now, they can't shoot like they shot the other night, 55% from three land, making 7 of their first 10. But Kansas, to me, just looks like the team on the mission. Again, I hope I'm wrong. I mean, it's where my money lies is with North Carolina in this one, but only because I made the hedge before the Duke game. But I just don't – I think Kansas is that much better. I think they win by 8 or 10. But I was wrong Saturday, so maybe I'll be wrong again.
Yeah, my thing with Kansas is, man, they I just think they have a little bit more experience. They have guys that were, on this team that were on the 2020 team that had a shot at winning if that tournament hadn't gotten canceled. So I really like that. And, when I watched North Carolina the other night, when the clock hit 0, I mean, they celebrated as if they had won a national championship. And I just don't know if they're going to be able to bring that same energy 48 hours later. And, maybe they can. And if they can, that says a lot about the job that Hubert Davis is doing as head coach to be able to get a team to rebound after beating their rival and ending Coach K's career in one of the most memorable Final Four games a game that we'll be talking about for years. So I just don't know if they'll be able to bring that same juice tonight.
I get that line of thinking, guys, and I actually thought that way myself heading into the weekend. Amanda sets up perfectly for Kansas. At the same time, if you can't get up for a national championship game, you wouldn't even be here. So I don't know. Maybe their legs are a little tired. They did play later. They probably had to play harder. Armando Bacot is injured, rolled his ankle on Saturday night. He's going to play, but really be effective. So, yeah, I mean, there's definitely some things working in Kansas' favor as well. But I wanted to take a minute and look back at Saturday before we go too far into tonight. That was, you've covered a lot of games in a lot of different venues. That atmosphere was amazing, was it not?
Yeah, I think as far as basketball games, man, I don't know. I can't put too many with that one. And that's college and NBA. I mean, I remember covering the Pelicans and Warriors back in the playoffs, and the Pelicans and Blazers. And I mean, obviously I was in a different arena, much smaller, but to have 70,000 people in a basketball arena, in the Superdome, and this was a legitimate 70,000 people. I know Mike Haas, who works with the Superdome, he tweeted out a picture with 5 minutes left in the game the other night. It was in the concession stand area. There was nobody out there. Everybody was locked in on this game, and it was amazing to see it, man. It's something I'll always remember. I've been here 9 years, and that'll definitely go down as one of the best Superdome moments that I've been a part of since I moved to New Orleans.
Jim, same question to you, because you've seen Superdome events for a lot longer. You've seen Final Fours there. Where did that rank Saturday night?
It's up there for sure. The atmosphere, like Rod said, was amazing and intense as anything I've ever seen. But just, I don't know if it tops Weber trying to call a timeout in the 93 Final Four that I was at. I know you youngsters were probably teenagers, or Devin. I don't even know if Devin was born yet. So it's definitely up there. It's in the top 5. But the Superdome brings out the best in a lot of teams, a lot of moments. Everything seems better here. I know I'm biased, but it just seems like championship games and moments are remembered in New Orleans maybe more than they're remembered in other places, and they're certainly mentioned more that they have happened in New Orleans more than they mentioned that there are other places.
Every time there's a championship event in New Orleans, you get the tweets and the comments and like, hey, they should have every championship event in New Orleans. And we would be all for that. I don't know, at a certain point, the rest of the country would kind of feel left out or whatever, but New Orleans used to be a major part of the rotation for all of these things, and now it's sort of spread out more. And I don't know if maybe the idea is to bring it back more often. Certainly, a lot of support for that. Devin, by the way, were you alive in 1993?
No, I was born in 1995.
All right. Your depressing moment of the day, brought to you by Devin Jackson.
Yeah, that makes me feel real good. That I was covering the event in 1993. I was in high school and way up in the terrace for Jordan back in 1982. So I'm an old dude.
I wasn't even born in 1982.
Sigh. Rod,
I was alive. I was alive for all those, for every Final Four that's been in New Orleans. I remember Jordan's shots. I was around for all of them. But this is the first Final Four I actually got a chance to attend in person. And again, it's just been a phenomenal thing. Zach was talking about New Orleans hosting it every year. I mean, even talking to fans, they just seem to really like it just because of the convenience of the city. You can check in your hotel, park your car, and never have to get in your car again until it's time to leave. You can just walk to the Dome and walk to Bourbon Street or wherever you want to go and find good food. So, I mean, it's just an ideal location. And I know we seem biased because we're here, but I think most fans will say the same thing about just hosting events here in this city.
It's easy to get to from anywhere. I mean, I don't know of anyone who says, oh, I don't like visiting New Orleans. I mean, who doesn't? So I don't get it. Danette says Kansas. Let us know in the comments who you're picking tonight. And a bonus points if you pick against the spread, which is Kansas -4 for the game that starts at about 8 o'clock. We were going to have Amie just on as well. Unfortunately, she's had some car trouble, so hope she's taking care of that. We're going to try to get Sheldon Mickles on in a few minutes, and then later we'll have Scott Rabalais to talk Masters. This is the super duper edition of Bayou Bets here on Monday, April the 4th. Jim, Derry, and I at the Caesars Sportsbook inside Harrah's Casino. Devin and Rod are at the Dome. Rod, before we let you go, give us a key to tonight's game that maybe people aren't thinking about. I mean, I'll give you an example. My thought is David McCormick so dominated Villanova. North Carolina's got a bigger paint presence than Villanova did. They've got to do something with him, obviously. But what else do you see matchup-wise that may decide this thing tonight?
I think a key for North Carolina is going to be their depth. They can't afford to get any guys in foul trouble. They're not as deep as Kansas is, and I think that's another thing that I think just gives Kansas the edge. And if these refs call this game tight and some guys get in foul trouble, it could definitely hurt North Carolina in this game. So I think that's going to also be very important. And we talked about Baycott, his ankle. I mean, Hubert Davis said he's going to be good to go, but you just never know, that you can play on adrenaline for a little while, but you just want to see how that ankle holds up for him. They don't have him on the inside. That's going to be a big loss for them as well.
Yeah, I mean, he gets he'll get the cortisone shot. He'll get anything and everything they can give him, and he'll play. But I mean, I feel like Hubert Davis would say he would play anyway, because if nothing else, you stick him out there and he's a decoy and a big body who can grab some rebounds and throw an outlet pass, and you just see how much you can get out of him. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
And that's basically what Hubert Davis said. He said, he sort of joked about that at the press conference that, even if he can't go, he'll be standing under that goal for him. So just how effective he'll be, that's going to be the big key tonight, or one of the big keys tonight.
Rod, just circling back to talking about the Final Four in New Orleans, you wrote a column the other day about fans who had been to every Final Four for, 25 years?
Yeah, his first one was 97. I think it was the year that Arizona won it. So, yeah, this is the 25th in a row. It was a father, son, and a brother. And actually, it's kind of funny. One of the brothers was not going to be able to go to this one because his daughter was on spring break. And he emailed me this morning. He said he read my column and he flew in today. So he's going to be here tonight because he didn't want to miss out on it. So
that's great.
That's kind of, interesting to hear that my words inspired him to be a part of this one. So he's flying. Yeah, he's supposed to hear now.
Good way to humble yourself is think about the impact that we can have in this industry. So, Rod, we appreciate it, man. Enjoy it tonight, and we'll talk to you later.
All right, thanks, man.
Thanks to Rod. And guys, I'm going to let y'all talk about some prop bets. Sheldon's having a few technical difficulties. I'm going to bow out for a second, talk to him, and find out what we can find out about getting him on the air. Well, y'all talk about some of these prop bets I picked out for you to discuss. I picked some of my favorites, but have at it.
All right, Devin. Well, one thing that I love is it's not on this list, but R.J. Davis's points. He's I think it's 14.5, and in all the key games that we've seen for Carolina throughout, R.J. Davis has played a huge role. And really, he doesn't come off the floor very much. So I think there's an excellent chance, unless Carolina just gets shut down and Kansas' defense, while I don't think North Carolina's going to win necessarily, I do think they're going to score some points, and R.J. Davis is going to be key tonight for the Tar Heels.
Yeah, he and Caleb Love are both going to be key. They have to score some points to keep up with Kansas, because I think this is going to be a fast-paced game, especially at the start. You're going to see a lot of shots flying, a lot of nerves in the first few minutes of the game. And we saw Caleb Love kind of take over down the stretch for North Carolina once again. And he's been their closer during the tournament. And I love the over on his total points because North Carolina's gonna have a chance to win. He's gonna have to have a big game, especially with Big Code and his injury, and just not being 100%. Him and R.J. Davis are gonna have to come up big for North Carolina to win this game and stay competitive throughout. So I think both of those guys going over their point totals listed, I think is crucially important.
And I'm not a big fan of Agbaji's over there, simply because I think Love's going to be on all night long, which leads me to I kind of like Brown going for more. I think he's 12.5, and I like Brown going over the 12.5 there. I think he's going to have to play a bigger role for Kansas tonight, Devin.
Yeah, he's going to have to be big as well. I mean, they have a lot of perimeter scoring ability on both of these teams, and I would expect some high level play on both sides of the ball. But yeah, he's going to have a big game as well for Kansas because they're going to be going toe to toe. Caleb Love is going to bring his A game. R.J. Davis as well, along with Kansas stars as well. So I think it's going to be crucially important for both of those sides to get going.
And Zach, before you go off this slide, the one thing that I think the one that I like the most on this list is Kansas leading at halftime and wins the game. I think it's maybe a better way to bet Kansas if you're thinking of that, because I think if they're going to win like everyone thinks they're going to win, I think they're going to be leading at halftime as well. We'll see if they get off to as hot a start as they did, but I think this is a better way to bet a Kansas money line than minus 210. And I don't really like the spread at all. I mean, I would take Kansas because I think generally Kansas is going to win, but I'm not touching the game. Again, I have my North Carolina hedge, and I'm just kind of hoping it hits. You can't really hedge a hedge. I'm not getting any value in it. So if I were going to bet it tonight, I would bet that. I like Kansas at halftime and winning the game.
You're muted, Zach.
I'm back. I have an update from Sheldon Mickles as well. He is trying to get on the air, but he is stuck in traffic trying to get to the Dome where he was going to call us. So Amie had car trouble. Sheldon's having traffic trouble. This is kind of what you deal with to go to these events. So that's how it is. That's fine. We have plenty to talk about on this Monday. We're going to have Scott Rabalais on to talk to Masters in about 15 minutes, and he'll give us his national championship pick as well. In the meantime, they sure know how to bury news on National Championship Monday, but the Saints made a major trade today, trading. It's a total of 8 draft picks in the trade, including, I think, 5 first-rounders. So basically the Saints, instead of drafting 18th in this year's draft, they will draft 16th and 19th. They gave up a first-rounder next year. They gave up a second-rounder in 2 years, and they gave up a third-rounder this year and got like a sixth-rounder back. I think I have that all straight. But basically, essentially what they're doing is they're either getting 2 first-rounders this year or they're going to pair those and try to move even further up, Jim.
Yeah, I would kind of expect, really, I think this is probably some kind of posturing move up. I would think if you don't hear anything in the next few days, maybe, then that it could be that they're just drafting an offensive lineman and a receiver in the first round, and that they thought that was the best way to do it. The third rounder doesn't bother me at all. They have compensatory picks there, so that's really almost a giveaway. So really, if you look at it, here's the way that I look at it. If the Saints do well next year and have a lower draft pick, then yeah, it's worth it. But if the Saints have a kind of year that Vegas thinks they're going to have, where the over-under is 7.5, then you're talking about giving away potentially a top 12 draft pick to move up one spot and then get an extra middle tier pick this year. It's certainly a gamble. We like gambling because we work for bet.nola.com. But in the end, I need to see the outcome, but I'm not sure I like this trade very much. It seems like a reach. And unless they're moving up to get a certain player already, maybe moving up to get a top 5 pick or a top 7 pick or something like that. Or if they're moving up to get a specific player that they already have in mind, which is also a possibility.
Yeah, I don't know. The other thing is that there are some salary cap ramifications here that they can make the team better this year without spending a lot more money, get the cap situation kind of back under control, that all that deferred money from the last few Breeze years. And then obviously next year you don't have that first rounder, but you will have a little more space under the cap, so you can go back into the free agent market to add to the team maybe. So there is some salary cap ramifications. I actually kind of like the idea of keeping both picks because they do have two pretty stark needs: offensive tackle and wide receiver. Of course, you could add other areas. I don't know that moving into the top 10 is the answer. I think you keep 16, you keep 19, you get the two things that you need, and then you go from there, and really you may have a playoff team this year. We just lost Devin.
Well, I hear you. I'm just not sure that I think that's. I think it might be too much of a gamble. Again, you talk about cap problems; they're not going to go away by. Zach, you might want to mute yourself for a minute. They're not going to go away by picking 2 first-round picks this year, because then next year you're strapped again. I mean, I understand where you're getting. I'm not sure they get that big of an advantage. You're also hedging that you think you're going to be really good this year, and then all you need is a couple picks to come in and help, or a specific player again that they're targeting. So I get what they're trying to do. I think it's a great deal for Philadelphia either way, because what do they give up? They move back one spot and they get an extra first-round pick. So I'm never into helping fellow teams in the conference. So that's another thing I'm looking at. It better really work out for you, or Philadelphia certainly got the better end of the deal.
And from Philadelphia's perspective, if Jalen Hurts is not the answer, you give yourself one more year to figure that out. And next year's first round is supposed to be deeper at quarterback. And so if he doesn't work out, now you have 2 first-round picks in next year's first round, and you can try to package those together, move up real high, and get yourself, the premier quarterback out of next year's draft. So it's interesting. It's an interesting trade. By the way, Caesars Sportsbook does not have NFL draft selections up right now, and neither do any of the other sportsbooks in Louisiana. Apparently, there's some regulatory concerns as far as picking things that aren't decided on the field. And the Louisiana State Gaming Control Board needs to figure that out. So that's the answer as to why you don't see it. We're hoping that gets obviously figured out in the next week or two, so that they can put up whatever they are allowed to put up on the NFL draft. So that is the answer to that. Devin, how about your take on this trade? It is an interesting one, and it's sort of hard to wrap your head around who's getting what right now.
Yeah, I think for the Saints, I think their mindset is that with this class, it's pretty top heavy. You got to be able to snag an offensive tackle on receiver and get positions of need in that teen area, because there could be a few quarterbacks taken within those first 15 to 16 picks, which can slide down some talent that would otherwise normally go a little bit earlier. So I think for the Saints, I think their mindset is try to maximize who they can get at the top of the draft, get possible immediate contributors instead of getting guys that may take 2-3 years to develop, and try to put together a winner cheaper. But giving the Eagles as much capital as they did, it definitely gives the Eagles ammo to go after a quarterback this year if they so choose, or go after a top draft pick, because they now can package the picks that they get from the Saints plus what they have next year as well to go up and get whoever they want. So it's definitely a gamble. The Saints, for this deal to really work out in their favor, they're going to have to get the talent that comes in. They have to do something immediately and immediately help this team. And then 2, they got to find a way to, win games and make sure that Philly pick doesn't end up being a pick where they can get the future quarterback of their team or future franchise player.
Jerry, the OG, loves it, Saints fan. And, I think, honestly, more than anything, what it tells me is that they're confident they're going to be competitive this year. You don't trade up in this year's draft and try to supplement this year's team and mortgage a couple of picks down the future if you don't think you're going to be good.
They're not really trading up, though. That's the thing. This is not a trade up. They're getting an extra pick. There's a big difference. If Philadelphia had like the 12th pick in the draft, then maybe I'd be a little bit more or less leery, I guess. But they're not trading up. They're getting an extra pick now and giving away the pick next year. So if they stink this year, which again Vegas thinks they're going to stink, then you go into next year with no first-round pick. So I'm not sure that the gamble is worth it. And again, no matter what, no matter how well it works out for the Saints, it is clearly a great trade for Philadelphia. They give up nothing They move down one spot and they get an extra first-round pick. So it is no matter if the Saints get the next Tom Brady in this draft, it is a great trade for Philadelphia. And I'm never one of those ones. I'm saying, let's give the other team a great trade. It's a huge gamble for the Saints, and it's zero gamble for Philadelphia.
I mean, okay, so it's only moving up 2 spots. Like, point taken. But the extra first-round pick is still an aggressive move for this year. That's my point. It's something they think that they can be better this year. And honestly, yeah, you hate to make another team better, but listen, good trades make both teams better. If the Eagles get better, so be it. I mean, you can't worry too much about that. You got your own business to worry about.
I'd rather make the trade in the AFC.
Speaking of doing business and good deals, I owe Jim Derry a po' boy, so it's time to pay up. South Carolina women have won the national championship. They beat UConn. And that is a mother's po' boy in the background. You like shrimp po' boys, Jim?
I like any po' boy. What are you talking about? They're unless it's an asparagus po' boy or a water chestnut po' boy, I'm probably going to like it. So, but I almost thought about asking you to go there today, but then I saw on Twitter the line at Mother's, and I'm like, maybe that's not a good idea.
Yeah, maybe not today. You'll have to settle for the virtual one for now. But it's making me hungry just looking at it, honestly.
Yeah, and I'm sure. I mean, I don't want to tick anyone off, but I'm sure it's going to be better than the food we're going to eat in about an hour and a half.
The first meal on Saturday was pretty good. Then late at night we just had some Pizza Hut, which honestly was okay because it was 11:30 and I was starving. Honestly, that women's game was a little disappointing last night. UConn made a couple of runs, but they were down big. I think it was 25-8 or something early.
It wasn't disappointing if you had South Carolina -4.
I guess. I guess that's always true. There's always two perspectives there. I will say, this is what y'all need to know about my Photoshop skills. They were pushed to the extreme just to do this. So that took me like a good half an hour to figure out today how to get that back there.
Here's my favorite. Uncle Big Nick, who weighs about 100 pounds more than me, is saying, look at him. Yeah, he likes po' boys. What do you not like, Uncle Big Nick? That's what I want to know.
We'll let Uncle Big Nick respond. By the way, Uncle Big Nick going to be on the Fantasy Roundup show tomorrow, talking some fantasy golf for the Masters. We'll also have Spencer the Guru on to talk fantasy basketball, wrap up some fantasy baseball stuff. Yeah, Nick says there's not much he doesn't like.
Yeah, no surprise there. And he will also be on Datitude as well. So we're looking forward to that. Look, Nick, I can joke with Nick all I want, but I can't mess with him about. He loves when people talk great about him. I mean, his head is already huge. I think he wears like a size 9 cap, baseball cap, but he's going to be wearing like a 12 because, I mean, the dude's been hit, so I can't give him any grief. He helped me with JJ Spawn yesterday, a $4 bet, and I'm only mad because I didn't have the cojones to bet more than $4, but a $4 bet won $600 yesterday, JJ Spawn. So it won him a lot more than that. So Uncle Big Nick has been rolling. I think he's got like 7 out of 11 winners this year.
I got to know, if you wear Uncle Big Nick, if you wear a size 9 ball cap, please bring a ball cap on the show tomorrow and show everybody, because I thought my head was big. I'm like a 7 3/4, and I thought that was big.
They don't call him St. Bernard head for nothing, and I'm not talking about the parish.
Okay. I'm not even sure I want to know any more details about that. We're going to have Scott Rabalais on in a couple of minutes to talk Masters. Elsewhere going on, the Pelicans lost last night, really their first stinker in a while in LA. The Clippers just got hot and stayed hot. Yep, you sure did. You were on fire yesterday. So here are your NBA title odds. Just looking at this real quick, I still find it hilarious the Pelicans and the Lakers have the same number there at the bottom of the screen.
Well, the Lakers were plus 8,000 until about 5 or 6 days ago. In fact, I think when the Pelicans beat them, it jumped back up. But it is hilarious because the Lakers aren't going to make the play-in game unless something miraculous happens. So if you want to go waste your money, even $1, it's not even worth $1 bet to go bet on the Lakers right now. So that's just insane. And I've been saying all along, I like the Grizz. Their numbers keep dropping. If you like them too, you need to bet them now.
Yeah, I think the Lakers, they need the Spurs to lose out. Am I correct in that? They need to win all four and have the Spurs lose all four.
I believe that is correct, or I think the Spurs can win one, but regardless, the Lakers need to win out, and they got a tough schedule. It ain't happening. They have something like a 3% chance to make the play-in game. Not going to happen.
Yeah, it's they are in a world of hurt. By the way, Nick, I'm a little disappointed. He's only at 7 3/4 also.
He's a lot.
At least we can share hats then. Welcome into the show, Scott Rabalais, live from Augusta, Georgia. So we've got the national championship venue in the house, and we've got I can't call it the national championship of golf. That would be incorrect, Rab, but it's pretty darn close to that.
Well, it's the biggest. It's not the championship of anything really. It's an invitational, but it's the biggest tournament of the year to most people, and the one that they watch, even if they don't watch any other golf the rest of the year. So you like this backdrop? I got a nicer backdrop than you guys. I'm sorry.
You do.
Jordan Spieth. It looks pretty good.
Rab, I'm going to the national championship game tonight, and I am super jealous because to me, there might not be a better place, a better venue. New Orleans is great for any kind of championship, but when you're talking about just tournaments or championship events, again, not a championship, but there might not be any better place than where you're at right now.
Well, I wouldn't argue with you, Jim. It's my favorite place to be. I was happy to be in the semifinals Saturday, but people said, "You're going to be in the finals?" No, I'm going to Augusta. I'm not. I'm going to for the start of the tournament week. So yeah, it's if you even are remotely interested in golf, it's someplace you have to try to come at least once in your life and make the pilgrimage here. It's fantastic.
Yeah, amen to that, and pun was intended there. Let's take a look at some Masters odds as we go here. Here are your favorites according to Caesars Sportsbook. Jon Rahm is the favorite at 10-1. Then followed in close order Justin Thomas, Dustin Johnson, Cameron Smith, Scotty Scheffler, Jordan Spieth, and then a whole bunch of guys at 20-1. Rab, Saturday you mentioned Scotty Scheffler's name to me. Is that still out of these sort of favorites? Is that one of the names you're looking at?
Well, Scotty Scheffler, you got to like for a couple of reasons. One, he's just played fantastic golf all year long. He's risen to number one in the world ranking and the FedEx Cup points list on the PGA Tour. He's won 3 times, and he's got only 2 finishes here, only 2 appearances, but a pair of top 20 finishes. Nothing spectacular, but solid. And then Zach, I'll appreciate this. Our desk guys give me a hard time for writing so much about Ted Scott over the years, but he's got Ted Scott from Lafayette as his caddy, who caddied for Bubba Watson for both of his wins. And you have to say that he's been a big influence on Scotty Scheffler's game and his approach this season, and can only help benefit him this year in the Masters. So yeah, I'd be pretty bullish on Scotty Scheffler.
Rab, this is what I think is interesting about the Masters is, we've had a lot of upset winners. We've had a few first-time winners this year. We've had a guy yesterday in J.J. Spawn who was 150-1 to win the tournament. This isn't that kind of tournament. It is very rare to see someone over maybe 30 or 40-1 come up and win the Masters, right?
It is. I mean, it's I think of Danny Willett. Was someone you didn't know much about in 2016 when he won, and when Jordan Spieth had that big meltdown on number 12, kind of handed him the tournament. But he played great in the final round, shot a 67. You had Larry Mize, back in the day, beating Greg Norman with the chip in at number 11, that sort of thing. But it takes experience. It takes some. A few trips around this place to understand it. That's why I'm assuming we're going to talk about Sam Burns from LSU a little bit, but it's hard. Your first time to win it. There's only been a couple of first time winners in Masters history. Gene Sarazen in 1935, he skipped the first Masters, and Fuzzy Zoeller in 1979. It's an open course. It's a second shot course, but you got to know where to put it on these big greens. You got to know where to put it in the fairway. You got to know your relation to Rays Creek, because the whole course kind of is on the side of a hill, sloping down towards Rays Creek, and you have to know it influences all the breaks. So it takes some experience and some know-how to get around here. It's not just you're rarely going to see lightning in a bottle here.
What do you think about some of the guys who maybe haven't been at their best so far this year? Jon Rahm, Justin Thomas, those kinds of guys. maybe they haven't been at their best this year, but this is kind of the thing when you get in a major, you could even put DJ, I guess, in that list. But they come alive when it comes to this kind of tournament.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's not misplaced that those guys are such among the betting favorites. Yeah, you're right. Maybe they haven't had the kind of 2022 that we've expected from them in past years, but they point towards these majors. And Brooks Koepka is another guy. Brooks Koepka is 20-1. Brooks, he seems like he only wins majors, and that's not true. I believe he won. He's won earlier this year. He certainly was contending at Phoenix, but he's a guy who points towards these events. These are the big ones, and so yeah, it would not be crazy to say, well, he hasn't shown great form over the year, but sometimes they play another tournament and they're thinking of shots they're going to hit when they come to Augusta or when they go to the U.S. Open. So it's all pointing towards peaking at on these 4 or 5 weeks a year for a lot of these top players.
Rab, I know you're a pros pro because you provided me with the segue to talk about Sam Burns. He is second on this list along with Bryson DeChambeau at 35-1. Shane Lowry, by the way, a lot of steam on him. He was at 40-1 earlier in the week, now down to 28-1. And then, of course, the big name about 2/3 of the way down would be Tiger. So do you think – I mean, it sure seems like Tiger, he says it's a game-time decision. He's going to give us a shot, right? I mean, he's at least going to go out there and play a few holes.
All the years I've come to the Masters, you usually don't see Tiger in the afternoons, and he was out on the practice range. I didn't get here till a little before lunchtime. He was out on the practice range, and then he came over and then went to the putting green, and then went to the first tee and started playing a practice round with Justin Thomas. I don't know how many holes he got through, but he seems very intent. He's going to give it a go, and it's 50-1. It's either folly or it's really smart money. I don't know what to say about what it is with Tiger, but obviously you can't beat his experience, his knowledge of this course and how to play here. When he won here his last time 3 years ago, he just so expertly played his way around this course where everyone else was imploding and hitting the ball in the water, and he was just putting it all the right spots. It's not the playing with Tiger, although he hasn't played a competitive round in 2022. It's the walking. It's he had the terrible car accident 15 months ago, nearly lost a leg. And this is Curtis Strange. I was on a Zoom call earlier this week with some guys from ESPN, and Curtis Strange said this is the hardest walking course in the world. And so it's up and down and up and down the hills. It's tremendously taxing in that regard if you're not at peak condition. So I think he can play, and he certainly knows how to play here. But can he walk? Can he be on his feet for 4 days and really contend? That's the question that the betting public's going to have to decide. I think he's going to try. I certainly think he's going to try.
Zach, if you could put that list back up there again real quick. Rab, I'd like to ask you of this list, if you obviously we're bet.noah.com. We're gonna make a couple picks this week. If you had to pick a couple names off this page 2 list that had a real chance to win this thing, who do you like?
I'm afraid I don't like Sam Burns, for the reason I said earlier. Rookies, it's his first time, and rookies just don't win the Masters. It's only happened a couple of times. I would Tyrrell Hatton is a name that pops out to me on this list. I think it's probably a pretty good value, as they say. Paul Casey never has won a major, but he's been in contention for a lot of them. You'd like to think, he's a veteran. He could maybe be a guy for you. Tony Finau is so talented. Another guy who hasn't played terribly well this year, but he's so talented, and he's had some high finishes here before. I would like some of those guys. Of course, I'm omitting Bryson DeChambeau, another guy who hasn't been on great form, this year. Has had some injuries and stuff like that. So I probably would stay away from him, But Hatton, Finau, maybe Paul Casey would be some names I like on that list.
And one of the great things about golf betting for those who haven't done it before and are looking to get in on the Masters is you can bet 3 or 4 of those guys at that number because all you need to do is hit one, obviously. I mean, you're hitting a 50-1 shot, that'll cover 5 losses. So, you take your pick, you do some research. We will talk more about that on the Fantasy Roundup show as far as building a DraftKings lineup. And also maybe some betting with Uncle Big Nick and who he likes. But Jim, while we've got the odds up there, what do you think?
I might want to turn my mic on. Of these guys, I like, and I think Uncle Big Nick's going to say this tomorrow too, but I like Justin Thomas more than I like anyone else. And I'm a little aggravated with myself. I think I missed the boat on the 14-1s. He was 14-1 earlier. So if you're putting up at 12-1, it means I probably missed the 14-1. But of the other guys, I kind of like some JM down there on the page 2 list. 50-1 odds, and he's been playing real well. I could see him making a move here. Certainly a guy that I'll have my eye on. And I agree with Rab. I really like Terrell Hatton playing really well. And then if you want to go down further on the list, if you just want to put a couple dollars on a guy like Hoagie, I mean, I already won this year. 125-1 might be worth a flyer for a couple bucks.
I put Hoagie on the notable list there for that exact reason. I thought that's a great price for him. I don't know that he can win or that he will win, but he's at least got a shot. He's certainly playing.
He's playing really well this year.
Devin, you're an Atlanta guy. Have you ever been to the Masters?
I have not, but it's always been something that I've wanted to do. But I never got the chance to go down and experience it. But I always catch, the Saturday and Sunday round. So I don't know much about this year's field, but I always find myself watching a little bit of golf when it comes around.
I mean, how can you not? It's the most aesthetically pleasing thing in sports almost. And as you said, Rab, it's like, the U.S. Open is the national championship. The British Open is that national championship. The PGA championship is obviously the championship of the PGA. The Masters is just like the championship for champions. It's like the one that they care about more than any of those.
When guys win on the PGA Tour, it's like, hey, I won. Then the second thought is, hey, I'm in the Masters. If they weren't in the field before, it's hard to get in. Like I said, Sam Burns was playing very well for a couple of years, but you had to win. You have to win or be in the top 50 in the world, generally speaking. There's a lot of amateurs who get in the field, of course, past champions. It's a very limited field. Usually you have 144 guys, maybe 156 guys in a tournament. This week it's about 90, or so. So it's difficult to get in, and they're all pointing to do that. And the thing about this tournament that is so, I think, so makes it so appealing to a lot of people is, the course they play. It's the one major you play every year at the same place, and that's where Tiger chipped in behind the 16th green. That's where Bubba Watson hit out of the trees on number 10 years ago. That's where Jack Nicklaus made that putt in 1975 to beat Johnny Miller and Tom Weiskopf. All those things come back to you when you watch the Masters. And when someone, hey, he won the water on 12, those things. So all those things make you good. One other name I would mention, guys, Cameron Smith, who's one of the co-defending champions of the Zurich Classic with Mark Leishman. Cameron Smith, 16-1. The guy, he's not long, but he's got an excellent short game. And when the putter is hot, he is really tough to beat. He's all the way up to number 6 in the world. So Cameron Smith, someone on that first page, I like very much too. If he's on.
Here's the most important question you will answer today, Rap. Have you won the media lottery and been able to play Augusta?
Yes, I did last year. I played last year, and I didn't play well. When you play well, people don't ask you what you shot. When you shoot a million, they all want to know what you shot. I shot 107, but it was a great experience. We used the Champions locker room. We used the practice tee. We drove down Magnolia Lane. I had a caddy from the club who caddied for me. It was a wonderful experience. You hit from some of the tees on the par threes. You hit from some of the same tees as the pros. Mostly you play the members tees, but it's a bucket list thing. And I wish I'd played better, but I played. So yeah, it's for us in the media, once you get in, you got to wait at least 7 years to play again. So hopefully I'll get a chance, before I turn into a senior citizen.
Well, we will we'll let you get back to Augusta and all the beauty there, but we would be remiss if we didn't ask you, first of all, after watching the semifinal game Saturday night from the Superdome, who do you like tonight, Kansas or North Carolina?
Well, let me ask you guys first, since I've been here. What are they saying about Baycott? Obviously, do we think he's gonna play?
He's gonna play. Whether he is effective or not, who knows?
Kind of sounds like Tiger Woods. McCormick was so great the other night for Kansas. It just that he was the difference in the game. Just took Villanova apart. If Baycott can't play, I don't think North Carolina has a chance. But I like Kansas regardless. I would say I still want to say North Carolina to cover, but I like Kansas to win.
All right, so a close game. Well, Rab, we appreciate the time. Enjoy Augusta, and we'll check back with you later.
Thank you, friends.
All right. So that was Scott Rabalais from Augusta, and now we switch from a legend to a Hall of Famer. How's that? And from Augusta back to the Superdome. Sheldon Mickles has made his way. How about this? Live now with the traffic report. It's Sheldon Mickles.
The traffic is not too bad. I've seen worse. So it's I just caught a little traffic out on Pontchartrain Expressway coming in. So it wasn't too bad once I got past that little part.
Sheldon, next thing you know, you're going to be on the morning news. I mean, you're going to be pointing to the roadblocks and all that. I mean, that's a great job right there.
That would be a great job to have if I was 30 years old.
Yeah, well, we're not gonna belie your age, but you are older than 30, and the reason we say that is because you've seen a lot of events in the Superdome, a lot of Saints games. Asked Rod and Jim this question earlier. Where does Saturday night rank as far as the atmospheres, the two different fan bases kind of going at it in that Duke Carolina game, and then just a fantastic game to match?
Well, it was kind of funny. Friend that used to cover the Saints for the Biloxi paper. I was sitting right next to him for that game, and he told me, he said, this is going to be a battle. He said, everyone is between North Carolina and Duke. And it was just such a heavyweight fight. Who was going to land the bigger blow? Who was going to land the haymaker at the right time? The atmosphere was great. The fans were great. When the game was over, I told our colleagues, Jeff Duncan and Rod Walker, that it sounded to me like a Mardi Gras parade. I mean, if you go to people who know, have been to Endymion and Bacchus and Orpheus, especially the Super Cruise, when floats pass by, just a roar just kind of blends in and everybody starts roaring, Well, it was like that after that game for at least 15 minutes where people were just hanging around. Of course, the North Carolina people were hanging around, but, the Duke fans stayed to watch, Mike Krzyzewski leave. But the North Carolina fans, they had a great time, and they must have stayed 15, 20 minutes in the stands. They didn't want to leave, but it was just and the music was playing. It was such a great vibe to be in standing in the on the field, if you were, or at courtside listening to all that. It was outstanding. Probably one of the best atmospheres I've ever been around at a Final Four, because of so many people were in the building and the noise they made.
That was clearly the better game. The best performance of the night may have been Kansas, the way they shot the ball and worked it inside to David McCormick. So with that as the backdrop, handicap tonight's game for us. Kansas is the favorite, 4-point favorite over North Carolina. What are you thinking?
Well, I picked Kansas to win by 4, exactly 80-76. And you're right about the first game. The performance. Of course, Baycott's 21 rebounds in the second game. That's pretty awesome. And then he fouled out with just under a minute to go. And I think he sat out about a minute when he injured his ankle. But the guy had 21 rebounds, just a phenomenal performance by him. But that sets up one of the big matchups of the night if he's available, which we think he's going to be, against David McCormick, who I don't want to say I underestimated McCormick. Covering LSU basketball on the beat, you don't see all these teams all the time. And I don't want to say I underestimated him, but, I mean, he was averaging 10 points a game and I think maybe 7 rebounds a game. Now, he did get 9 rebounds, but they started going into him early, and they were not going to stop. They were relentless in getting the ball to him. And he had a nice little soft touch. He banked a few in at the beginning. And then, of course, they had Ochai outside, the outside presence, who just knocked down 3 after 3 after 3. But David McCormick was obviously the star of that game. I guess you could say Ochai was too. Let's call them co-stars. But he just surprised me with his touch. He had a little feathery touch around the rim. He had bank shots from in close. He had dunks. He had just about everything. He didn't miss a dunk. He could have had 27 points, but just a great performance by him. I mean, that's going to be that's going to be one to watch. But I picked Kansas to win mainly because of their guards. The guard play with DeJuan Harris and Christian Brown and Ochai, the great the All-American from Kansas. So I just think they're going to have somebody's going to make some plays down the stretch when they need them, and could be Ochai, could be it could be the DeJuan Harris. I like him a lot, so we shall see. But I think that's a good battle to watch in the middle with McCormick and Baycott, and hopefully, Baycott is at full strength. And from what Hubert Davis said yesterday, he's had sprained ankles in the past, and kind of, I don't want to say plays through them, but I mean, he either gets enough treatment or he's able to get back on the court quickly. So hopefully that'll be the case again tonight.
As our desk colleague Raina Kemp used to say, he's going to get that Mariah needs to sing tonight medicine. And so
Yep.
they'll give him something to make him not feel that ankle very much, I think, for a couple of hours. And he'll gladly deal with the soreness for the rest of the week in exchange for a national championship. Shifting gears, Sheldon, just for a second, your day job, so to speak, covering the LSU men's basketball team. New coach Matt McMahon, a lot of turmoil in that program just in the last month or so with Will Wade on his way out, Matt McMahon in. Just about every single guy on the roster entered the transfer portal, and now getting some transfers in. What is the state of LSU basketball besides chaos?
Well, it's hard to tell right now because Matt McMahon has not talked to us since his introductory news conference. I mean, look, he's got a lot of work to do, obviously, but he has to assemble a staff. He had to replace, and some of these kids could theoretically still come back, even though they put their name in the portal. There's 13 scholarship players, 11 in the portal. 2 of them have declared for the draft, and will probably stay in the draft, obviously. But 11 scholarship players in the portal, plus, and he's got 4 walk-ons. So, I mean, walk-ons could enter a transfer portal too, but they haven't. So he's brought in 3 transfers, signed 3 transfers, and he's got a commitment from a high schooler who will sign next week on April 13th. Signing day is April 13th. So he's got a lot of work to do, and trying to assemble a staff, and it's just not hiring 3 assistant coaches. You have to hire a director of operations. You have to hire a video coordinator, a strength coach. You have to hire a lot of people on your staff. People, probably 7 or 8 other people he has to hire other than those 3 assistants. So it's quite the undertaking, and obviously he's busy with that. And there was some recruiting he had to do. March 31st was the start of a dead period until April 8th, this Friday. So he's been able to probably get some of that done this week. But, obviously trying to recruit. And even though it's a dead period right now, let me emphasize, they can recruit right now by phone, by email, by Zoom, or whatever means they need. They can do that. There's just no in-person visits or contact between March 31st and April 8th. So, he's trying to probably have to get a schedule going. He's trying to, get teams on the schedule for next year. So he's got a lot of stuff on his plate. So I'm sure we're going to be talking to him soon, and hopefully we'll get a better grasp of what's going on. But as of right now, they have 4 guys probably on the roster, and 4 walk-ons at least if they keep those. But I had a story posted about 1:00. He reportedly has 3 assistants, and he has a chief of staff. His chief of staff is going to be a guy named Tim Kane from Murray State, who was with him for, I think, all 7 years. And he's going to be the chief of staff. But he had on his Twitter account today, he had a picture of the PMAC, and he also had chief of staff for LSU MBB, and he had hashtag Go Tigers. So he's kind of jumped the gun, and his head coach. I don't know if he knows it yet, but he's out there that he's coming to LSU.
He's going to lose the job after that. I don't know. Sheldon, we appreciate the knowledge. Enjoy the national championship. You don't get to cover them all that often, and so we hope this one's a good one.
I hope so too. It's shaping up to be that way. I mean, it's just you got two of the best teams in the history of college basketball here. And I know all those guys aren't here, but I mean, it's just, the tradition and the history of them being in the Final Four, winning national championships. It's a big deal. It's just like 2012 was when Kentucky played Kansas in the final. So New Orleans has had some pretty good ones lately, the last two times.
Absolutely. Louisiana Sports Hall of Famer Sheldon Mickles, everybody. Thanks, Sheldon.
Thank you. Good to see you guys.
All right, guys, we got about 5 minutes left. It's time for our picks for tonight's game. Devin Jackson, you got that. By the way, I love the blazer there, man. That's a little bit of a Carolina blazer. Is that where you're going tonight?
Yeah, I'm going with Carolina. I just think they're playing some of the best basketball that we've seen over the last month or so, and the confidence that they've grown. It seems like every game they're getting more and more confidence, and then of course being their arch rival in the Final Four on Saturday, I think it will be a cherry on top for any other season, but I think they get the job done tonight and knock off Kansas. I think it's going to be an excellent game, back and forth game between two great programs, but I really like what North Carolina has, and I think Caleb Love once again is going to be a difference maker tonight, and it's going to be again making big shots.
All right, Jim.
I hope Devin's right, and I hope I'm wrong. But I just don't see – I think Kansas is more talented than North Carolina, and besides that, like I talked about earlier in the show, Kansas is on a mission here. They're playing like they're on a mission. North Carolina's focus was solely on Duke. I'm not saying once they got past Duke, they didn't shift their focus, but it's a little bit different for Kansas. I think Kansas came in here saying it's win the tournament or bust. And I think it was Devin that said it earlier. I don't remember who said it earlier, but North Carolina was jumping up and down like they won the national championship when they beat Duke. Kansas was like, okay, we won, great. We got another game to go. And I think that makes a lot of difference. And I really don't think it's going to be all that close. Again, I hope I'm wrong. At the minimum, I hope it's at least close and we get to enjoy it. But I just don't see it. Kansas is playing like the best team in the nation right now. We'll find out soon whether they are.
I picked Kansas as well, but I think actually just in the last 24 hours I've changed my mind, guys. And I guess I'm allowed to do that because this is live video. I'm going to take North Carolina to pull the upset. I've just been getting that vibe that everybody's on Kansas and everybody thinks Kansas can do it. And I think we're underestimating how good this North Carolina team is. If Armando Bacot comes out there and is gimping around, that's a different story. But if he is as healthy as Hubert Davis is trying to portray that he is, I think North Carolina wins this game. And I tell you the bet that I made was a same game parlay with Carolina plus 7.5, under 155, and David McCormick under 7.5 rebounds, and that paid 5-1. And so I kind of like my chances with that one. It does need to be a close game. The 7.5 rebounds, I kind of took a chance. I needed to throw it in there. It was an odds boost type deal. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I think obviously I wouldn't be surprised either way because I'm changing my mind left and right. But that's where we're at.
You're a flip flopper. It's all right. You can tell everybody you're a flip flopper.
Unless
it comes to going for it on fourth down, you're a flip flopper.
I mean, honestly, even then, I see situations in which you don't go for it on fourth down. I really do.
Oh boy, I didn't mean to open that can. Sorry, Devin.
Yeah, let's not. We don't have enough time for that. We'll talk. We'll bring that back up in the fall. I got a chapter of a book for you to read, by the way, that kind of proves all of the points I've been trying to make to your stubborn head.
I don't read anything that's longer than 500 words, so.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to write you I'll write you a Cliff's Notes then. All right, hey, our thanks to Sheldon Mickles, to Scott Rabalais, and to Rod Walker for stopping by. This was a great show. The Masters starts on Thursday, as does the Major League Baseball season. So lots to look forward to even after tonight. Obviously, it's all Kansas and North Carolina tonight. And then tomorrow at 3:30, same channels, tune in for the Fantasy Roundup. We'll talk fantasy golf for the Masters, and we'll also talk some basketball and baseball. And I think Spencer even said he's got some dynasty rankings for fantasy football updated. So we'll do that as well.
And Datitude, special Datitude tomorrow.
Special Datitude tomorrow with Uncle Big Nick talking golf betting, and we'll recap the national championship game. So lots going on. Thank you all for joining us. And remember, if you have not signed up yet, now is the perfect time to do it. NOLA.com/Caesars. Get $1,100 in bet insurance if you sign up today. Go to NOLA.com/Caesars. For Jim Derry and our producer, Devin Jackson, I'm Zach Ewing. Enjoy the game tonight, everybody.